Everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 11 and compare it against the iPhone 10 and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, clearly, I would tell you the iPhone 11 is a better iPhone in every single way than the iPhone 10, but the 10 I think is still good enough for the most part if you really need an iPhone, but I would recommend just buying something like the iPhone 11. It's going to be a much better iPhone in pretty much every single way. So, in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you want to pick up some phones I would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off side by side, you can kind of tell that both these phones are fairly similar in a lot of different ways. With the iPhone 10, which came out in 2017, this one on the front had a 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED display, and it was a good panel. I think when it first came out, it looked good, didn't really have too much to complain about there, and it's still a fairly good looking panel. You have the notch up top, you have a little bit of bezel around it. Don't know why I'm not connected to Wi-Fi right now, but regardless, it's still a very good looking phone nonetheless. And I would still say this display on this phone still looks fairly good. Like, it's still a fairly good looking phone, which is pretty insane. You would never look at a phone like this and think it still is holding up so well, like however many years later. Has it been, how many years has it been? 2017, so 4 years or 3 years, so 7 years later, this phone is still looking very good, very sharp, and it's easily still one of the better displays Apple's made for how old this phone is. Now, on the iPhone 11, this phone came out in 2019. So it's funny because this is a newer phone, but it has pretty much, universally a worse panel than the iPhone 10. So it's weird that Apple made a phone that's 2 years newer than this thing, but has a noticeably worse panel. For one, it's a lower resolution panel than the iPhone 10, but it's also an IPS panel. It's 6.1 inches, so it's larger, which is nice, but it basically has that it has that low resolution, which a lot of people may not like. And I, for one, I like having a phone that's, a little bit better in some ways. And this one is kind of stuck in this really weird phase where it's like a newer phone that has it has a newer software and everything, but it's just like a low resolution IPS panel. Pretty insane stuff, but I'll probably give the edge to the iPhone 10 being the better looking phone there. Now, in terms of the rest of the body, you can kind of tell both these phones have the aluminum. The iPhone 11 has aluminum back or aluminum side. iPhone 10 has this reflective material, which looks very good on the iPhone 10. Apple has since removed it, but it's been here since the iPhone 10 all the way up until the iPhone 14s or 14 Pro. But Apple removed it. Not a big fan of them removing it. On the bottom, you have Lightning ports, which is great. No USB-C or anything, but it's okay. And then we have our camera setups. So with both, we have our dual camera setups, which is very good. I think having a dual camera setup is great, but they are slightly different. Like the iPhone 11's is wide and ultra wide, iPhone 10 is wide and telephoto, but we'll get into that in a second. The last backs on both, and these were the white models of both, and look at how different these white models are. You would think that they would be kind of the same thing or something. Nope, they're fairly different, which is very funny. They both have wireless charging, they both have IP certification, and you can definitely tell how much inspiration the iPhone 11 got from the iPhone 10. And even now, when you look at the iPhone 15, like I have an iPhone 15 right here, there's still a lot of overlap. Like, you can definitely tell the inspiration behind the iPhone 10 on like a little bit of every single iPhone that's came out since then. So I definitely will tell you, with the iPhone 10 and iPhone 11, fairly good phones. I like them a lot, but I would definitely say the iPhone 11 on the exterior doesn't hold up as well against the iPhone 10. But the area where, in my opinion, the iPhone 11 does kind of supersede the iPhone 10 is within its software. The iPhone 10 right now is on like iOS 16, and it's gotten iOS 16 updates for quite a bit of time, which is genuinely very cool. Unfortunately, it's now stuck on iOS 16, and you're not going to be getting that next version of software anymore. So it's not getting iOS 17, we already know that, but it's also not going to be getting iOS 18 that's going to be coming out this year. So the last thing I'd want to do is recommend a phone to people that's going to already be outdated when you buy it, and that's pretty much exactly what's going on when you're picking up this phone. You're getting a phone that is, it's not severely outdated yet, but it's going to be more outdated than something like the iPhone 11. So that's just something to keep in mind. And like I said, I wouldn't want to recommend a phone to people that's going to be in that case. So the iPhone 11 is still supported with software, and you're probably still going to be getting maybe like another year out of this thing. So it's going to be getting iOS 18, I would assume. If we're lucky, it might get iOS 19 as well. I don't know for a fact. I could probably, I have no idea. But it's just one thing to kind of keep in mind there too. So that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 11 has that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 10 has that Apple A11 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one's a faster phone between both. There we go. Let's go and hop all the apps in the background. You can see this one has this one, but we're all cleared out. 10 is here, 11 is here. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Music 3, 2, 1. Okay, I don't know which one's faster there. Let's go into their app stores. 3, 2, 1. Oh, this one is offline. I have no idea. They're both offline. So I wonder if my Wi-Fi is off or something like that. That's very, very concerning. Camera, 3, 2, 1. Okay, perfect. Let's take a photo, 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Let's go into books, 3, 2, 1. Now they both have that gesture-based design, which is very nice. Having that gesture is really nice. And the 10 actually, I think, beat the iPhone 11. Very insane. Settings, 3, 2, 1. I think, again, the iPhone 10 may have been faster. Getting into some of these third-party apps. Let's try Apple TV, 3, 2, 1. Now there's no internet. I just hiccup there as well. I don't know if I'm going to edit that out. Files, let's go and see that. 3, 2, 1. Okay, very, very confusing stuff. Let's get into some of these third-party applications. Let's try something like Netflix, 3, 2, 1. I think the iPhone 11 may have been faster there. Thank you, 3, 2, 1. And kind of the same thing, not really that big of a difference there. Let's get into Temple Run, 3, 2, 1. And I guess this one had this annoying pop-up, which is so annoying. So we're just going to hop out of this one. Let's go into something like, I could try Genshin Impact, but that's too big. Facebook, 3, 2, 1. So I wonder if my Wi-Fi had just cut off right now, which would not be a good thing at all. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this thing just is not going to work with me today, it looks like. Hopping out of here. Stack, 3, 2, 1. And it looks like the iPhone 11 is the faster one here. The iPhone 10 a little bit slower. So what did we learn? I think we basically know now that we knew before that the iPhone 11 is probably the faster phone, but the iPhone 10 did kind of look like it beat it a few times, which is pretty surprising. So when you're buying a phone like the iPhone 11, you're going to be getting a phone that's going to be a little bit faster here and there. But I think the iPhone 10 is also still like a very fast phone too. But when it comes down to both, I think the iPhone 11 is probably the faster one more times than not. So that kind of covers it up there. Now, hitting on the cameras, this is another very interesting area about these phones because, like I said, they both have dual camera setups, but they're very different. The iPhone 10 wide and telephoto lens, iPhone 11 wide and ultra wide camera. You can zoom in more on the iPhone 10, but you can zoom out more on the iPhone 11, and you're getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back of the iPhone 11. With the iPhone 10, you're only getting 4K at 60 on the back, and I think like 1080p on the front or something. So, definitely a far better lens on the iPhone 11, in my opinion, in pretty much every single way. Now the 10's camera, I think, is still it's good for how old this phone is. It's an outdated phone. You're getting 10x zoom, which is nice. 1x zoom on the outside, video mode, portrait mode, square mode. There's not really a lot of other things that I look at this particular phone and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like the best lens ever. It's a fairly basic lens when it kind of comes down to it. And that's just kind of what happens. It's an older basic lens now. When it first came out, it was a good, respectable lens. And that, again, is just kind of what happens when you're getting one of these types of devices. Now, on the iPhone 11, this is a much better lens, in my opinion. You're basically getting the better phone in almost every single way. So this camera is very solid. You're getting that 0.5x zoom. You're getting standard 5x zoom here, but it's still good. Video mode, portrait mode, panorama mode. This is by far, in my opinion, the better camera than the iPhone 10 in every single way. And I do think the vast majority of people would probably end up agreeing with that. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you is the iPhone 11 is probably the better phone in every single way you can probably think about it. It's better in battery life, better in performance, still a longer lasting phone. And this is the iPhone I'd recommend a vast majority of people to buy. But with a phone like the iPhone 10, hardware-wise, it probably feels a little bit more expensive and the display is better, but it's a slower phone and it's already outdated with software. I probably would not recommend buying a phone like the iPhone 10, and I'd much rather recommend buying a phone like the iPhone 11 in this day and age as of right now. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video.